If a woman's hands start telling a story before her mouth does, something important is happening, and most men completely miss it. And the painful truth is this: the moment you hesitate too long, the opportunity quietly disappears. I want you to imagine a moment that happens every day in cafes, offices, bars, and quiet living rooms. A man sits across from a woman he likes. He's trying to read her words, trying to decode every sentence, trying to understand if she's interested or not. Meanwhile, the answer has already been given, but not through language. It's in her hands. Most men are trained to look for obvious signals: a direct compliment, a bold statement, a dramatic confession of attraction. But women rarely communicate attraction that way, especially in the early stages. Their signals are subtle, layered, and often unconscious. As a psychologist, I can tell you something many men were never taught. Attraction often leaks out through microbehaviors, and hands are one of the most honest parts of the body. When a woman feels safe and intrigued around a man, her body begins to soften. Her movements become slower, less guarded. Her hands stop acting like barriers and start becoming invitations. She may play with the edge of a glass while maintaining eye contact with you. She may slowly trace the rim of a cup or lightly touch her own wrist as she listens. Sometimes she gently places her hands closer to you on the table, subtly shrinking the distance between you. None of this is random. The human brain is deeply wired for connection. When someone feels attraction, their nervous system begins to lean toward the person creating that emotion. Hands are often the first place that shift happens. A woman who feels nothing keeps her hands controlled and distant. She folds them. She hides them. She keeps them busy with her phone or tightly clasped together. It's a protective posture. But when her hands open up, when they start moving freely in your presence, that's a psychological shift. She's no longer protecting herself from you. She's exploring you. And here's the uncomfortable truth many men must face: attraction has a timing window. It doesn't stay open forever. Women experience emotional momentum. When they feel curiosity and excitement building in a moment, they want that moment to evolve. Not rush recklessly, but progress naturally. If the man sitting across from her stays frozen, if he keeps talking but never acts, her brain begins to reinterpret the situation. Maybe he isn't confident. Maybe he isn't interested. Maybe the chemistry she felt was one-sided. And slowly, that emotional spark cools. This doesn't mean you must force anything or ignore respect and consent. Healthy connection always includes awareness and mutual comfort, but understanding signals matters. A woman's hands often reveal when her emotional door is slightly open. Not wide open, not demanding anything. Just open enough for you to step forward with confidence and authenticity. Most men lose romantic opportunities not because women rejected them, but because they never recognized the quiet moment when the door was already open. There is a moment that psychologists often talk about but rarely explain to men clearly. It's the moment when attraction moves from curiosity to possibility. And strangely enough, one of the clearest places this transition appears is in a woman's hands. When a woman begins to feel emotionally drawn toward you, her body begins to mirror connection. This is not a conscious performance. In fact, most women have no idea they're doing it. Their nervous system simply starts communicating what their mind hasn't said yet. You might notice she lightly touches her own neck or collarbone while listening to you, not in a dramatic way, just a small, almost absent-minded motion. Psychologically, this is a sign of vulnerability and openness. The body relaxes enough to expose sensitive areas, which only happens when someone feels safe. Another sign appears when her hands move closer into your space. She might place them flat on the table instead of pulling them back toward her body, or she may angle her fingers in your direction while maintaining eye contact. These movements seem small, but they reveal something powerful happening internally. Her brain is testing closeness. Humans naturally move toward what they feel attracted to, not always with big gestures, but with subtle shifts. A shoulder leaning in, a foot pointing toward you, and very often, hands slowly entering your personal space. Then there's another behavior that many men overlook completely. She begins to play with objects while talking to you. Maybe it's the straw in her drink, maybe it's the corner of a napkin, maybe it's the ring on her finger or the sleeve of her jacket. This isn't boredom like many men assume. It's nervous energy combined with attraction. Her mind is engaged with you, and that emotional stimulation creates small physical outlets through movement. Think about what happens in the body when someone excites us mentally. The heart rate changes, breathing shifts, attention sharpens, energy rises. That energy often escapes through the hands. But here is the critical detail men often misunderstand. These signals don't mean a woman wants you to rush forward recklessly or invade her boundaries. Attraction signals are not instructions. They are invitations to become more present, more confident, and more aware of the emotional moment between you. This is where many men make the wrong move. Some panic and do nothing at all. They ignore the moment, bury themselves in endless conversation, and the emotional tension fades away. Others go too far, too fast, because they misinterpret subtle signals as permission for bold actions. Confidence sits in the middle. A man who understands emotional timing doesn't force moments. He responds to them. He allows the energy between two people to grow naturally. When a woman's hands begin to soften, open, and move toward you, it often means something simple but powerful. She is comfortable enough to let the interaction deepen. And if you remain attentive to the moment, instead of trapped inside your own doubts, you'll notice something fascinating. The conversation slows, the eye contact lasts longer, and the silence between words starts to feel meaningful rather than awkward. That's the moment many men overlook, because they're waiting for a signal that is louder than the quiet language her hands have already spoken. Now here is where most men unknowingly sabotage themselves. Not because they lack intelligence or kindness or even attraction. They lose the moment because they become trapped inside their own head. A woman can be sitting inches away from a man, her body relaxed, her hands slowly drifting into his space, her eyes lingering just a second longer than normal. And the man is still running calculations in his mind like a nervous scientist. Does she like me? What if I'm wrong? What if I ruin the moment? While he's asking those questions, the moment itself is quietly slipping away. Attraction, especially in the early stages, thrives on emotional rhythm. Think of it like music. When two people are in sync, their energy flows naturally. The conversation has pauses that feel comfortable. Laughter appears without effort, and physical distance begins to shrink little by little. When a woman's hands begin to open toward you, she is subconsciously participating in that rhythm. Sometimes she places her hand closer to yours on the table, leaving only a small gap between them. Other times she gestures while speaking and briefly lets her fingers brush your arm. It may last less than a second, but psychologically it carries meaning. She is testing the emotional temperature between you. This is not manipulation. This is human behavior. Our brains constantly gather feedback from small social interactions: a glance, a smile, a touch. These signals help both people understand whether the connection is mutual. But here's the reality many men never hear growing up. Women are rarely attracted to hesitation that stretches too long. A moment of thoughtfulness is fine, but extended uncertainty creates a different emotional signal entirely. When a man stays frozen, despite clear comfort and connection, the woman's brain begins to reinterpret the situation. She may start wondering if you lack confidence. She may assume you only see her as a friend, or she may simply feel the emotional momentum fading and pull back without saying a word. And when that shift happens, you can actually see it in her body language. Her hands move back toward herself. She crosses her arms or picks up her phone. The playful movement disappears. The emotional door that was quietly open begins to close. This is why awareness matters more than boldness. The goal is not to rush toward physical actions. The goal is to stay present enough to recognize when a connection is naturally deepening. A confident man doesn't ignore signals, but he also doesn't force them. He allows small moments of closeness to build gradually. He responds to comfort with calm assurance rather than anxious overthinking. And when two people are genuinely drawn to each other, those moments become unmistakable. The space between you feels charged, but not uncomfortable. Her hands remain open instead of guarded. Her attention stays fully on you, even when the room around you is full of distractions. These are the quiet signals of emotional readiness, not demands, not guarantees, but opportunities. And the men who succeed in relationships are not the loudest or the most aggressive. They are the ones who learn how to recognize when connection is already unfolding, and have the confidence to meet it halfway instead of letting it disappear. Because the truth most men eventually discover is simple. Attraction rarely vanishes suddenly. It fades when moments of connection are repeatedly ignored. And often, the first sign of that connection was already sitting right there on the table, in the language of her hands. There is something fascinating about human attraction that many men never fully understand until much later in life. The strongest romantic moments are rarely loud or dramatic. They are quiet, subtle, and almost fragile, and they often live in the space between two people who are slowly realizing they are drawn to each other. When a woman begins expressing attraction through her body language, especially through her hands, she isn't making a formal declaration. She's allowing a small window of emotional openness. That window doesn't stay open forever. Psychologically, attraction grows when both people participate in the moment. When one person shows curiosity and the other responds with presence and confidence, the connection strengthens naturally. But when the moment is met with hesitation, endless analysis, or emotional distance, the brain begins to protect itself. The excitement cools, the curiosity fades, and the opportunity quietly dissolves. This is why emotional awareness is one of the most powerful skills a man can develop. Not because it helps him win someone over, but because it allows him to recognize when two people are genuinely enjoying each other's presence. A woman who feels comfortable around you often reveals it through relaxed gestures. Her hands move freely. She gestures while speaking. Sometimes she lightly touches the table near you or mirrors your movements without realizing it. These signals are the body's way of saying something simple. She feels good in this moment with you. And when that feeling is mutual, the most attractive response is calm confidence. Not pressure, not performance, just presence. Confidence doesn't mean rushing physical affection or ignoring boundaries. Healthy attraction always respects the other person's comfort and signals. The strongest connections are built when both people feel safe and valued. But confidence does mean allowing the moment to grow instead of shrinking away from it. It means maintaining eye contact when the conversation slows down. It means letting silence exist without panic. It means being emotionally present rather than lost inside self-doubt. When two people are drawn to each other, those small decisions create powerful momentum. The woman feels seen. The man feels grounded. And the connection deepens in a way that feels natural rather than forced. The irony is that many men spend years searching for complicated dating strategies, when the real skill is much simpler, learning to observe, respect, and respond to the emotional signals happening right in front of them. Sometimes those signals appear in a smile, sometimes in the way someone leans closer while listening, and sometimes in the quiet language of her hands resting closer to yours than they need to be. So let me leave you with a question that might change the way you look at your past experiences. How many moments in your life have you replayed later, suddenly realizing the connection was already there, but you didn't notice it at the time? Write your answer in the comments. I genuinely want to hear your story. And if this perspective opened your eyes even a little, make sure you like the video, subscribe, and share it with a friend who might need to hear this today. Because sometimes the smallest signals can lead to the most meaningful connections.